Debt is one of the strangest things in our culture. At first, it feels like help. It feels like relief. It feels like progress. You get the car, you get the house, you get the thing that makes life feel like it's finally moving forward. And for a while, it works. But then quietly, almost invisibly, something shifts. The payments stack up. The margin disappears. The choices get smaller. And one day you wake up and realize you're not building a life anymore. You're just maintaining a machine. Emily and I know this story very personally. When we were first married, we were living in a basement suite that was far too large for both of us, but we wanted something that we can host all the random hypothetical guests that we never invited over. Every month felt the same. Bills, minimum payments, random expenses that showed up out of nowhere. And every month felt like pushing a boulder up a hill, only to have it roll back over us before we even made it to the top. Here's the part that matters though, and you will probably feel the same. We weren't stupid. We weren't reckless. We weren't out buying toys and vacations and pretending nothing mattered. We were doing what most people do. We were trying to survive in a system that makes it very easy to drift and very hard to build. There's a moment I'll never forget. We were standing in that little basement suite, looking at our numbers, going line by line through our budget. And when everything was accounted for, rent, insurance, debt payments, groceries, gas, we had $5 left over. Not 500, not 50, 5. You don't realize how small $5 is until it becomes the difference between maybe this works and there's absolutely no room for error. And we were already cutting everything. No new clothes, no eating out, no treat ourselves. Groceries were bare bones survival mode. We got strategic and honestly so desperate that we started replacing meat with chickpeas because it was the only protein we could afford consistently. People talk about sacrifice like it's poetic. There's nothing poetic about eating chickpeas 5 nights a week because you're scared of your own future. But that season did something to us. It forced us to look at our life honestly, forced us to work together, and it forced us to stop pretending that trying harder was going to fix anything. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. Trying harder doesn't fix broken financial systems. It just makes you more tired inside it. For a long time, we thought the problem was effort. We just need to be more disciplined, more motivated, more intense. But the truth was simpler and more uncomfortable. Our entire financial life was built on a structure that guaranteed stress. And that's when something clicked. The real turning point was the moment we realized if we didn't change the system, nothing else would change. Debt does something subtle to your life. It's not just math. It gets into your sleep. It gets into your marriage. It gets into your confidence. It gets into the way you make decisions. It makes every conversation about money feel loaded. It makes the future feel smaller. It makes freedom feel like something that exists for other people. And maybe the worst part is that slowly teaches you that life that you want is unreasonable. You stop dreaming, you stop imagining, you stop asking bigger questions. Not because you're lazy, but because survival doesn't leave much room for vision. And yet, I've also seen the opposite. I've seen what happens when people start to bring their money under control. Not when they get rich, not when everything is perfect, but when they finally create clarity. It's like their nervous system calms down. They breathe differently. They think differently. They start asking better questions because their brain is no longer in constant threat detection mode. That's why I believe this. Your money will not obey you until you lead it. And leadership always starts with structure, not restriction, not punishment, structure. For us, the first shift was painfully simple. We stopped guessing. We stopped hoping. We actually proved where our money was going. Not to judge it, not to shame it, just to see it. Because most people aren't overspending. They're just unaware. And you can't lead what you refuse to look at. Then we had to decide how we were going to attack the debt itself. And this is where people get stuck because they try to do everything at once. They change strategies every single month. They get tired. They lose momentum. We picked one approach and committed to it. Not because it was perfect, but because it was decisive. And what surprised me most wasn't the math. It was what momentum does to your psychology. Progress changes how heavy life feels. Then we started systemizing everything. Bills, transfers, savings, everything was an automatic system. Not because we're robots, but because we're human, and humans are emotional. Automation protects you from your worst moods. It protects you from panic. It protects you from decision fatigue. And slowly, something strange started to happen. Money stopped feeling like an enemy. It started to feel like a tool again. Then came the bigger shift. We stopped asking, how do we survive this month? And we started asking, what are we actually building? That's the moment your finances stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. Here's what I want you to hear. This episode is not really about debt. Debt is a symptom. Debt is a season. Debt is a chapter. This is about whether your money reflects your values, whether your systems reflect your priorities, whether your life is being built on purpose or just maintained by default. Debt looks like freedom in the beginning, but eventually it starts making your world smaller. Systems do the opposite. They give you back your options. They give you back your imagination. They give you back your sense of agency. So here's a simple question to sit with this week. Where is your money currently leading you? And just as important, is that actually where you want to go? No shame, no guilt, just honesty. Because clarity creates power and systems create freedom. And freedom is what lets you build a life instead of just financing one. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who feels buried right now and keep making the small deposits that build a meaningful life.